I'm back! Hello fellow nerds, it's Alicia. Yes, I have come back for another episode of Books in the Park. It's been kind of a weird few weeks. I've moved, I got really sick at one point last week. My temperature was like up to 103 degrees. That's a song, isn't it? That's a... I got a baby of 103. It wasn't a good 103 though, it was very bad 103. But I'm here, I'm back, and I'm ready to dish out that good news. Also, before we begin, check out my shirt. It's awesome! I recently binge watched all of Rick and Morty and I'm in love. So, that was the ugliest smile anyone has ever given, ever. Today we're going to be talking about the Stoker and Holmes novels by Colleen Gleason, which consist of The Clockwork Scarab, The Spirit Glass Charade, if I can move it into the frame properly, and The Chess Queen Enigma. I don't have the third book. I'm sorry. But here's a picture of it. Meh. Now, the Stoker and Holmes novels might have some names in it that you are pretty familiar with, and they might not necessarily make sense when you put them together. So we have two main characters of this very steampunk story. We have Eveline Stoker, who is the sister of Bram Stoker, the novelist who wrote Dracula. Are you with me so far? Okay, good, because it's about to get even weirder. And then you have Mina Holmes, who is the niece of Sherlock Holmes. Yeah. And these two come together in the late 1800s and decide they're going to solve crimes together under the tutelage of Irene Adler, who is Sherlock Holmes's basically great love of his life. I know, it sounds way weird, and it's because it is. It's a weird series, guys. Now the concept itself is very high steampunk. There are some stories out there that are steampunk, but you can actually see them like working in conjunction with actual historical things that happen. This is not one of those stories. There's very high steampunk involvement where absolutely everything about the technology is completely different. It's not just some dark underground usage that is going on there. It's like everything. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just very different than a lot of the other steampunk things that are out there that kind of take like, oh, well, mostly it works in conjunction with actual history, but then there are these subsets of people who know more about like this different sort of technology and blah blah blah. It takes a little bit of getting used to like what's normal for that time period and everything like that. But it's really fun when you finally do kind of catch on and you're like, oh, okay, like this is what's normal for this time period and in this world that we're being set in. There's also time travel. Just putting it out there. Yeah. This is a screwed up story, guys. So in the first novel, The Clockwork Scarab, we have these two girls coming together. Mina is very much like her uncle. She is very quick-witted, doesn't really have a very social flair to her. She often describes how she doesn't have the best time with the opposite sex and just people in general. She very much likes to prove her intelligence and use her wit to kind of get out of situations and things like that. Eveline, on the other hand, is part of a very elite family who kind of has a lot of connections and everything like that. But she also lives kind of this double life as this renowned sort of person who has mysterious powers that can actually hunt vampires, given their great strength. And I mean, okay, we're just gonna be like upfront and honest here. She's basically Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's what she is. I'm just putting it out there, okay? That's what I really like about this show and a lot of other shows where you have these kind of odd couple people, is that they eventually start to find good things about each other that they really admire, and then they start to care about the other one as a person too. And so when they get in these really high stakes situations, there's always that moment where you're like, oh crap, I actually like this other person. And these two characters, being who they are just phenomenally well balanced. And there's some interesting side characters too, but it really relies heavily on the main two characters in there. Now, one of the good things about this series is that it is told from both perspectives of Mina and Eveline, which really works out well, because then you get to know these characters both pretty equally. I would say maybe they lean a little bit towards Mina's perspective. But for the most part, you see both of their perspectives pretty evenly. And like all really great dual perspectives, Gleason really makes sure that you know who is talking in every chapter. They switch by chapters the perspectives, and not always every other chapter. There's sometimes where it's a couple chapters in a row that it's the same person, but because she writes the perspectives so differently, it's very easy to tell who's talking in what scenario. Another really awesome thing about the series is that you could tell that she tried to write in a way that characters would back in the day, but it doesn't sound really antiquated or fake. It sounds pretty modern in a way that we can all understand, but it also sounds in a way that you know it's not someone from our time talking. You can tell that it's written from the perspective of someone back from over 100 years ago. One of the things that I did have a little bit of a hard time with in this series is that a lot of times, especially in that first book, there were things about the mystery that didn't really seem to pay off. The whole time when you're reading that first book, you're just wondering, well, what is going on with all these people? Who actually did all this? Who is who and what is what? I don't understand. And you would think, just like the old Sherlock Holmes stories, that everything would kind of come out into the light by the very end and we would understand and everything like that. But you don't. I understand that it's because, well, this is a series and you don't want to like blow your whole load at the very beginning and everything like that, but at the same time, when you're first getting introduced to a story, you kind of want to tie up those loose ends in the first book. Just in case the person doesn't want to pick up the second book. I mean, I know that, like, that's the whole idea, is to get people to go into the second book to find out what happened, but sometimes you just want a story that wraps up in the end, you know? The other thing that I was left kind of wanting was better side characters. There are some characters who are kind of cool, but we never really see too much of their development. We always see them in perspective against the main two characters. We don't really see them as anything more than just kind of facets in the background, especially the male characters. Like, I'm all for girls taking the forefront and everything, but you also have to focus on the other characters that are part of their lives. They can't just be these cardboard cutouts that you put into scenes. I'm not saying that men don't get enough development and everything else, but at the same time, if you want people to treat girl side characters well and give them development and stuff like that, then you should also do that to your guy side characters as well. All characters should get equal treatment and such, because reasons. But at the same time, this is a super fun story, like amazingly fun. You have these moments where they go undercover and they're dressing up in different costumes in very Sherlock Holmes style. You also see the characters that these people are related to. You see Sherlock, you see Watson, you see Bram Stoker. They're all actual characters. Are they there for a lot of the time? Not really. But you still kind of get those moments where you're like, ah, there they are! Haha! It's just a good old-fashioned mystery series, and if you really like mysteries, if you really like steampunk, if you really like awesome girls who kick some butt in both physical and mental ways, you're gonna love this story. It was super fun. I enjoyed it highly. So yeah, there you have it. We got Clockwork Scarab and Spirit Glass Charade. They're both out now. I believe the Chess Queen Enigma is also out. I haven't read that one yet, so don't hate me. Thank you so much again for watching, guys. Remember, I always need suggestions. I'm starting to run out of ideas on stuff to get you. I could just sit here and review Harry Potter every week, but I think you guys will get sick of that. So, just if you have any suggestions or anything like that, you can give us some comments down below in the description of this or any other Books in the Park video. Or you can go on our Facebook, our Twitter, our Tumblr. You can give us some suggestions there. We also have our email, which is nerdparkpodcast@gmail.com, where you can send us some tidbits there as well. Just anything. If you want me to review... Oh, I almost said 50 Shades of Grey. Please don't make me review 50 Shades of Grey. It'll hurt me inside. But anything else, you can give me anything else and I will review it for you, and I will most likely like it. I like a lot of books. There are some books where I'm like, ugh, but I try to give you books that I at least moderately like. But thank you again so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and I love you all. And remember, until next time, stay nerdy.